Andy Burnham comes with a little bit of a sort of, I think I'm perfect mantle, don't you think?
Well, I was wondering I was watching you earlier talking about it, but this thing that I'm the thing you've needed for 40 years. I'm the great messiah.
Right.
Plus, I think I've heard my 10-year plan before. I think it was Keir Starmer who had the last 10-year plan. It lasted under 2 years. So it's a lot of hot air, a little whiff of arrogance, I think, from Mr. Burnham, which is fine if you can deliver. You know, my only thing with him, I give every new Prime Minister a chance. OK, he's been waiting up there in Manchester for many years, plotting and scheming for the moment he seizes the crown. It's pretty obvious. It's been one of the, I have to say, from a political point of view, a ruthlessly, brilliantly executed coup. That's what it is. And it's a coronation without election. And that's fine if he, in his speech today, lays out a genuine, well-thought-through plan that he's going to execute, which will actually improve the lives of people in this country. But Keir Starmer had a thumping win in his election and turned out to have zero plan for running the country. And that was his undoing. If Burnham does not have a plan and doesn't know who the key people are he's going to have to execute it, he's going to very, very quickly unravel.
We will start this and we will grow this. That's the approach that we will take, and that's why we've not fixed numbers.
Right. So, lastly, Home Secretary, it could be fewer than 50. The answer which is yes.
So, Nick, what you're trying to do is to get me to sort of to play in and
you were
to
the one,
speculate about different numbers.
You were the one who said the number's not fixed.
Yeah, it's not fixed. Exactly. That's
so it could be fewer than 50.
So I'm not going to speculate about the numbers that we'll get to. And do you know, part of the reason that I'm not going to speculate about the numbers is partly because we will develop this over time, and it is a pilot.
Yes, so I had the audacity to ask her for an answer. So, although it's the headlines of 50 a week, by the Home Secretary's admission, there could well be fewer than 50 a week, Mr. Philp.
Well, there could be. She sounded, to be honest, pretty clueless. You very reasonably, you asked her some straight questions.
Well, they're the one lauding the numbers. It's not as if we are. Yeah. They're the one shouting 50 a week. And then when you say, and she says it's not fixed, and you say, come on, yes, it could be fewer. Mr. Philp.
Let's talk about this. Well, let's play it first. This was a historic moment in television history. You know, impartial journalism, BBC, ITV, unbiased journalism, very important, particularly on a programme like Good Morning Britain, when they're discussing very crucial topics, crucial political topics of the day, you know, like two-tier policing. And we want to know what the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, thinks about that. So good to get a kind of hard-nosed television journalist to interview her. Let's have a look at that hard-nosed television interviewer probing, quizzing the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper. Take it away.
Like many of our viewers will have done at home since those terrible killings in Southport, there have been identifiable individuals on social media who have been inciting not just riot, but violence. They've been using racist language. They've been using falsehoods about what happened in Southport. This is happening on the social media platforms. What can be done, what should be done now by the social media companies and the police and the government to stop this happening? Because it's been happening for a week.
Well, you're right, Ed, that we have seen these what things that are appearing online that are clearly criminal. That social media has put rocket boosters under the far-right extremist organisation, and also some of the violence that we have seen organising some of the violence.
It's his bloody wife. It's his wife. It's Ed Paul's interviewing his wife. I mean, what do they do? Rehearse it at home over breakfast?
The reason why the Prime Minister appointed Peter Mandelson was because he'd been the business secretary in this country, he'd been the EU Trade Commissioner, he'd done all of those things, having resigned from government previously, and with his associations with Jeffrey Epstein known to the extent to which they were known in the public domain, And this had been reported on in the media, and he had still maintained a very public profile in the media and as a broadcaster and so on. And it was felt his skills would be of benefit to us.
I think people get the positives, but the negative isn't quite as you or the Prime Minister have described it. The negative is that up until very recently, it was clearly known that Peter Mandelson was conducting a close friendship. See what JP Morgan's internal report said when it was in a New York court in 2023. That's what I mean by recent. That close friendship was ongoing, and it was ongoing after a conviction for soliciting prostitution from a child. And that's legalese language. That is sexually abusing a child.
Yeah.
And continuing a friendship with a man who has sexually abused a child and been prosecuted for it, convicted of it, friendship continues. Doesn't that just exclude you from a job like this?
If you earn more than 6 figures, are you no longer a working person?
The Chancellor will set this out on the
But what's your
30th
opinion?
of October. It's absolutely clear in our manifesto.
It's not clear to me, that's why I'm asking you the
the
question.
Yeah, but obviously the definitions have to be seen in the round, and that's what's going to be put on the
You're
table.
either working or you're
on the
not. I
30th
mean, if
of
you weren't
October.
earning more than 6 figures and you're paying a lot of tax, then you're still a working person, surely. I was just confused about what he meant.
It just would not be appropriate for me to speculate on what the Chancellor's going to put
I'm
into
not
the
asking
budget.
you about what the Chancellor's putting in the budget. I'm asking your opinion. If you earn more than £100,000, are you still a working person?
The Chancellor's going to set all
What's
of this
your
out
view?
on the 30th of October. Look, our manifesto made it absolutely clear that we will not be raising national insurance, income tax or VAT on working people. And that is the
And
pledge
what's the
that will be
definition of a working
delivered.
person? Let me ask you that then.
The Chancellor will make that absolutely clear on the 30th of October.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
I'm saying your values are worth nothing to people if you cannot build the homes that you promised, improve the cost of living, which has been squeezed these past 15 years, and generally make things better off. It doesn't matter. You can talk about your values to the house cows come home. People don't think you're delivering on what matters to them. They rejected you in Wales. They rejected you in Scotland. They rejected you in the local councils in England, and they're even rejecting you in your London citadel in parts of that too. Now, why should people think that the people who created this mess, that got the things wrong that you just listed there, why would they think that you could put it right? I mean, you're the reason why we're in the mess we're in. Why would we trust you? Why don't we need a fresh start with a fresh leader?
I think people are very, very frustrated after 14 years of Tory incompetence and failure. They wanted to see change more quickly. They voted for change.
And you failed them.
And it's not happening quickly enough. But for the reasons that I set out earlier, there are green shoots. There is clear evidence that we're beginning to turn the corner. And I gave you a list of some of the achievements in terms of what we've delivered since July 2024. But we've got to move faster. And we've also got to really show what our values are. And
what does that mean? What does that mean? Politicians talk about what your values are. Nobody cares. People want to be able to put food on the table and pay their fuel bills and be part of a country that can defend itself at a time of grave geopolitical danger. What do any of these vague phrases mean to the people who didn't vote for you in massive numbers yesterday?
Well, of course, the policies that you set out are the way that you express your values. And I was giving you a list of those policies earlier, Andrew.
And they didn't cut it with the British people yesterday.
But there is a lot more that we're doing that shows whose side we're on. Take the Renters Reform Act. That clearly shows we're on the side of tenants, not landlords. Take the planning reform. That is on the side of growth, not vested interests who are stopping us.
Yeah. Shall we take the 1.5 million? Shall we take the 1.5 million homes you were meant to build?
Those are our values in action.
Well, but they're not in action. That's the problem. They're not in action. You can sit, and your colleagues, and the Tories do it the same. It's all the same. You can sit in television and radio studios and say, this is what we're doing. This is it in action. The purpose of changing the planning laws was to make up for the Conservatives' terrible house building record. Your record so far is even worse. You're nowhere near.
OK, we can speak to the Government Minister for Housing, Matthew Pennycook, right now. Very good morning to you, Mr Pennycook. Starmageddon is the headline on the Daily Mail this morning. I know you're here to talk about reforms for renters, but what anyone is thinking about today is how you managed to line up releasing 1,700 prisoners to cheers and bottles of champagne on the same day that you cut the fuel allowance for millions of pensioners. I mean, I know you're a new government, but you got that wrong, didn't you?
Who pays the council tax on her grace-and-favour home in central London?
The accommodation Admiralty House in central London. The council tax obligations there are discharged by the Cabinet Office, Westminster Council, as has been the case.
So that is her second home?
That's her home she uses for work purposes.
So the £2,034 a year is paid by us, the taxpayers?
Have you had a word with all 52 of the Labour MPs who didn't turn up to vote yesterday, presumably many of them to avoid having an awkward situation where voting to cut £300 from some of our neediest pensioners would look awkward on their voting record?
Well, lots of those absences were authorised, but I've obviously not personally spoken to all of those who very deliberately abstained or in one case voted against the government.
Your own analysis back in 2017 suggested that that could lead to the deaths of 4,000 pensioners. And John Trickett, who is the one Labour MP, was prepared to put his head above the parapet and vote against you, said that he could sleep easy last night, knowing that he was trying to stop this measure. Is it not something that causes you to lose sleep, to do that to millions of pensioners? What have they done wrong?
Now, the critical thing here, Andrew, I think that people will want to understand, rather than this sort of Paxo-style interview, the critical thing here is that the Conservative Party spending plans are much, much deeper and much greater than ours, and that they will be deeper.
Well,
no, I am.
Yes,
but I am. But I am.
No, but I am. But that's not the subject of my
interview. If you just let me finish the point.
Like
if
Mr.
you let me finish the
you
point.
don't get to ask your own questions.
Okay,
I
I'm
get
going
to
finish
ask
the
questions,
point. Okay,
and you answer them. I would like to point out to you, Lucy Powell, that this morning, all you have told us in terms of deficit reduction is that you would have one tax rise which could bring in nothing, and so far spending cuts that barely come to £1 billion. Add these two together, that is not a credible deficit reduction package.
No, it isn't what I've said to you this morning, Andrew, because you aren't listening to what I'm saying. I've said to you there are 3 prongs to our strategy for deficit reduction, and I'll rehearse those again for you now if you like. That we will have fair tax rises for those with the broadest shoulders, including the reintroduction of the 50p tax rate. We will have sensible spending cuts across other departments, that those that I have set out and others that are still to come. And thirdly, and most critically, this is absolutely why the Tories have failed to reduce the deficit, we will get ordinary working families paying taxes in and not having to draw down on the welfare state, because we've seen a huge proliferation of people who are in work having to claim benefits. They are on insecure, 0 hours, low paid jobs that they
How many people are on 0 hour contracts? How many people are in 0 hour contracts?
Over 800,000.
Well, it's 700,000 actually, of which a third don't want to work any more hours, and 17% are students. So how would getting them off 0 hour contracts result in an avalanche of new tax revenues?
It's a critical issue. It's across the board.
To the question?
Yeah, I'm answering the question. If you just let me speak, Andrew, this is really annoying.
You've had plenty of time to speak.
Yeah, I'm now actually going to speak. You know, in the real world, Andrew, where I live, okay, unlike where you live and many other people in the media.
You have no idea where I live. Just answer the question.
I don't know whether you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
this.
We
want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah.
Okay. There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?
Look.
Many members of the grooming and rape gangs that systematically abused white working class girls have never faced justice, and neither have the councillors, officials and police officers suspected of collusion and cover-up. So can we have a debate on the need for a national inquiry into these disgusting crimes? And will the leader tell us, please, who exactly it is she believes is using these horrors as a, I quote, dog whistle?
We are all, everybody up and down this country, are horrified about the crimes that have been committed over many, many years by despicable grooming gangs.
Leader!
I responded to an urgent question on a similar matter on the 14th of May. I reiterate the commitments I gave then. I am satisfied that this government is coming to the House regularly to keep Parliament informed.
Rubbish.
I recognise...
Order! I'm not satisfied. I think that's the key, because both backbenchers, quite rightly, should hear it first. I don't care how many have been done in the House, it's the ones that's not been done we should be talking about. Leader of the House.
I don't think anybody on here has given me an egregious example of where one of the most important announcements of government has not been made to the House.
Leader, with the greatest of respect,
yeah.
Could I just say to you gently on behalf of this committee that the fact that Mr. Speaker has made 3 or 4 statements from the chair, that the fact that Mr. Speaker took the unprecedented step of writing to this committee asking it to look at it, if that doesn't ring just the teeniest of alarm bells in HMG...
No, I don't think, any time, and as I say, I mean, you can have a look at what I would regard as far more egregious examples under the previous government, where the statement never even was forthcoming.
2 wrongs...
Well, no, it's not about 2 wrongs.
2 wrongs do not...
It's not about 2 wrongs.
2 wrongs do not make up. You are the leader of the House of Commons.
It's not about 2 wrongs.
Of the Council in this Parliament.
Yes, absolutely, and I take these things very seriously. However, no, I think what is...
Sorry, Leader.
Fine, yeah.
If this committee chooses to ask previous leaders of the House under the previous government to give evidence on this, this committee will invite, and heaven knows there are plenty of them to invite, we will. This committee is here to question you, as a representative of the government, on this issue.
And just to be clear about that.
On this issue.
Yeah,
and so we're now going to turn. We are now going to turn, Mr. Lamb. And then I want to bring in Mr. Baker. Had you concluded?
Oh, hello. Breaking news. She's just resigned. Are you serious? Louise Haigh has just resigned. She's obviously started listening to Morning Glory, and she's 10 minutes in, and she's gone, I can't take this. So Louise Haigh. So another one bites the dust.
Yes.
What a shambles this government has become.
Well, it's the first cabinet.
Oh my God.
It's the first cabinet resignation.
I mean, it's early doors for that, isn't it? I can't remember the last time a government minister resigned at 6:15 in the morning.
Well, I mean, they've all...
Bye-bye, Louise.
Breaking news in the last half hour. It is an extraordinary move very quickly, because this story only broke yesterday. I mean, Sir Keir Starmer, we understand, knew about this conviction. John, should we just explain what it is? Because I imagine many people are going, what conviction? Louise Haigh, who, So, Transport Secretary.
So, apparently, some time ago now, she was mugged, and as a part of that procedure, she went to the police and apparently said that her phone was also stolen. It then transpired that that may not have been the case, and therefore charges were brought against her for saying something misleading. Yeah. That ended up, I understand, at the Magistrates' Court, and she did admit she was guilty of it.
Why was it not discussed at the interview that he was a Labour donor?
It was discussed at the interview that he was a Labour donor. It just wasn't discussed that he donated specifically to me, because I didn't know about that. He hadn't recalled it. But as soon as that was discovered, as I said, as soon as I was given that information, that same day, I'd put that information into the public domain and recuse myself from the process. I take full responsibility for it. We didn't meet the highest standards throughout this process. That is on me. I'm responsible for the Department of Culture, Media and Sport and our appointment processes, and I have unreservedly apologised. I think people would expect us to uphold the highest standards. Well, I have said, hands up, this was not a perfect process, and all of those mistakes I take full responsibility for. I apologise for them, and more importantly, I'll put in place processes to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
He's been in the news this week because I think, and I said and had predicted, and I hope I'm right, but it doesn't look as if he's going to stand out. I said he'd be out of a job by Friday. He should be out of a job because, of course, he pretended that he was a solicitor, which is a protected profession, which you cannot pretend to be without breaking the law. Here's what he said in Parliament.
Before the last election, I worked as a solicitor in Manchester city centre, and I would travel in to Manchester every day from what is now my constituency.
That was when he still had hair. Let's talk to Stephen Barrett, a barrister who knows a thing or two about the law and who knows a thing or two about why being a solicitor is quite an important job and why pretending to be one is actually a criminal offence.
So here you go, the latest one today.
Madam Deputy Speaker, on a point of order. It has come to my attention that in a speech I gave on the 28th of April 2014, recorded in column 614 of Hansard on the subject of high-speed rail, I made a reference to my experience of using our local transport system in Greater Manchester when I worked as a solicitor in Manchester city centre. I should have made clear that specifically, Madam Deputy Speaker, that was a reference at the time to being a trainee solicitor. This was an inadvertent error, and although this speech was over a decade ago, as it has been brought to my attention, I would like to formally correct the record, and I seek your advice on doing so.
Benefit cuts, winter fuel payment changes, two-child benefit cap, home inheritance tax. I mean, are you proud of that?
So I think a responsible government actually listens to advice that it's given. If circumstances change and more information becomes available, I think the right thing to do some of the time is to have a bit of a course correction. And, you know, I do take issue with what you said, Fiona, there about some of the examples you gave.
Do you?
I do.
Why?
For example, you said we have changed our policy on removing the two-child cap in universal credit. We set up a commission to look at child poverty, to look at what we could best do to lift children out of poverty. The conclusion of that, we decided that the single most important thing you could do was to adjust the benefit system and lift nearly 500,000 children out of poverty.
Hang on, Heidi, just a minute.
It was morally the right thing to do.
It was defended by Rachel Rees and Keir Starmer as the right thing to do and the thing that the country could afford. A year later, hey presto, the country can suddenly afford it. How is that not a U-turn?
No, that's not a U-turn. We always said that we would look at how we could address child poverty.
Heidi? Why do you think people are laughing at that?
Well, perhaps it's my inability to express the government's policy as succinctly as I might otherwise.
The sheer number of U-turns carried out by this government, 13, is there a risk that if you're positioning yourself as a reforming government, as soon as you get a bit of pushback, you crumble?
No, not at all. And I don't accept that this government has done 13 U-turns. You know, some of those things that people are claiming weren't even in our manifesto. It's right, of course, when new information...
So a U-turn only counts if it's in the manifesto, so we shouldn't trust what the Prime Minister tells us then. I can read some of it to you if you want. So we've got a digital ID card, welfare spending, business rates of pubs, farms, inheritance tax, winter fuel payments, two-child benefit cap, waspy women compensation, national grooming gangs inquiry. I mean, I could go on.
It's not fake news to tell the truth. It's not fake news to challenge power. It's not fake news to do your job. It's my job to challenge parliamentarians. That's what I did. He said it was fake news. Go and have a look how the Labour Party voted on that grooming gang inquiry and we'll see who's telling the fake news.
Martin, there's a fundamental principle driving what we have done, which is that we have looked in the eyes of billionaires running tech platforms and we've said enough is enough. We're putting all our power behind British families, parents and young people in this country, as we did with Grok, where we stood down the richest man in the world, protected women and girls in this country. We're protecting kids in Britain. That's the most important principle.
Is this really about child protection or is it really about something else? Control, censorship?
Well, look, one of the things we're trying to crack down on for young people is fake news. And so I dispute the fake news that we're not being tough on grooming gangs. We've got robust inquiries.
It's not fake news. You voted against
every single question, leave no
Your
stone
party
unturned.
voted against the rape gang inquiry until you were kicked, dragging into it. And by the way, may I add, a lot of the pressure that was placed upon you was from Elon Musk on X.
Martin, in this country we have beautiful free speech. Here I am as a government minister engaging in a debate with a channel owned by foreign billionaires, companies in Dubai, putting tons of money into the pockets of reform owners as well. But I'm here to debate you because free speech is important. But there's a line, and at the moment you're crossing that line in terms of fake news. As you know very well, we have consistently
What's fake news about anything I've just said? Tell me anything I've just said that's fake news. Go on. What have I just said? Anything that's fake news?
Very simple thing. Very simple thing. Well, Martin, I've told you twice, but let me tell you a third time. We have consistently backed inquiries against grooming gangs. We will lay no stone unturned in making sure that women, girls, young people in this country are fully supported, kept safe online and offline.
Did you vote in favour of a grooming gang, or did you vote against it, sir?
I have always backed the toughest measures against grooming gangs in this country.
OK, but my point is, you just accused me of fake news. I want to know what I said that you think is fake news. That's a serious allegation to make. You're a government minister. We're an Ofcom regulated TV channel, and you're calling us fake news. What?
I've told you 3 times. I've told you 3 times. Let me tell you a 4th time. You said specifically that this government has not supported action against grooming gangs. That is incorrect. We have consistently supported tough, robust action against grooming gangs, offline and online. We're on the side of young people and families in this country, not tech billionaires and millionaires.
Kanisha Narayan, I also pointed out to you that a majority of Labour Party parliamentarians voted against the grooming gang inquiry until the public backlash was so huge you had to do a U-turn on it. These are the facts. That's not fake news.
Just remind listeners where the new crossing is, where it takes off and where it lands.
It's... you'll forgive me, I can't recall the exact landing zones.
So the crossing that you're talking about, you don't know where it is?
Well, it's the Lower Thames crossing, which has been in planning for many, many years, and it is to enable, essentially, people to not have to take the Dartford Tunnel, which is a huge problem, Dartford Tunnel, and it's to enable businesses, lorries, people doing business, but lorries in particular, who are coming from the Midlands and the North to key ports in the south east. That's what we're...
It's almost as if you were reading from a piece of paper there, isn't it? you don't actually know where it takes off from or where it lands, do you?
You'll forgive me, Nick, but this is part of a broader 10-year infrastructure strategy that we will be launching later this week. And it is vital that we ensure that we improve our infrastructure, which is absolutely central to economic growth across the country and delivering better jobs and better wages for people.
I mean, I don't want to go on about this, but it is about the 19th word in the press release, the Lower Thames crossing. Let me tell you, Gravesend in Kent, Tilbury in Essex, those are the 2 towns.
Tilbury, it was Tilbury that I couldn't...
How much is it going to cost?
Well, it's going to cost quite a lot of money, but we today are announcing £590 million towards that cost. We'd already put some money in the autumn budget into this project, but we want this to be a public-private partnership because there are significant benefits, obviously, to the private sector.
But how much is the crossing going to cost, Secretary?
Well, overall, it's going to cost several £billion.
How many? You don't know that either, do you, actually?
Well, it has already cost quite a lot of money.
I don't wish to be rude to you personally. Is there much point continuing this conversation? Because you don't know where a bridge starts, you don't know where it ends, and you don't know how much it costs. So is there any point continuing?
As I've said, the money that we are putting in is crucial to unlocking this project, which has been years in planning.
Secretary, you don't know how much it is.
Well, it's several billion, as I've said.
It's 10 billion, to put you out of your misery.
10 billion.
Yeah, so it's not several, it's 10. What does this say about the economic stewardship of this country, that someone in your position of importance, you don't know where a bridge starts, you don't know where it ends, and you don't know how much it costs? What does that say to you?
Well, I'm here to talk about the broader infrastructure plan as well that we will be launching later this week.
Well, for the benefit of my listeners, I will continue. When will the Hammersmith Bridge problem be resolved?
I'm not here to talk about the Hammersmith Bridge. I'm not a transport minister.
But you're talking about infrastructure. You're talking. Sorry, I thought we just talked about 3,000 bridges that are unable to support the heaviest vehicles.
I don't have the detail of the Hammersmith Bridge.
But that's one of the key bridges that can't support any vehicles, let alone the heaviest of vehicles. So clearly that must figure in this.
The plan, the money that we are allocating today will go to such bridges, to go to repair bridges, and to make sure that those bridges can take a load. And as you said at the top, there are 3,000 bridges across the country that can't take a load.
Right. And one key one is the Hammersmith Bridge, so that's not part of this at all.
There will be Hammersmith Bridge and others will be, but that will be down to local. I mean, look, I can't come on your programme and give you the dates for every 3,000 bridge that will be.
I'm merely asking that one of particularly. It's been closed, I think, for around 6 years. We hear of a new initiative by the newish government, 3,000 bridges. One of the ones that really jumps off the page, of course, is Hammersmith Bridge. And you don't know whether any of these funds are going towards Hammersmith. Is that correct?
I can't name every one of the 3,000 bridges.
Respectfully, I've not asked for that, have I, Secretary? I've just asked, can you confirm that it is going to get some of the funds from this £1 billion?
Well, further detail will be set out in written statements to Parliament.
With me is Chris Bryant. Mr. Bryant, the bits of your speech that were circulated at the weekend were pretty critical of Tesco and Next. Here we are today. You're praising them for their employment record. What's happened? What did you get so wrong?
This is not quite that dramatic a change, but...
It is. Enormous change. I read what you said at the weekend. You criticised them for hiring foreign workers on the cheap. Here you've praised their employment records, and yet you said in answer to questions you're not backtracking.
I'm not backtracking. I'm saying a very simple thing, and I've been saying it all weekend. I'm not saying that Tesco and Next are unscrupulous employers. I've never said that, never intended to say that. But I do think that there is a problem, that we have 1 million young, unemployed people in this country under the age of 24. We've got areas of very high unemployment, where youngsters, for instance, 23.8% unemployed, and yet... good employers like Tesco and Next have to resort too early to recruiting from outside the country. And in addition, in some cases, you have recruitment agencies that advertise only in Polish. I just don't think that's fair.
I'm sorry, but you were not calling them good employers at the weekend in the extracts that appeared in the Sunday papers. For example...
It's a fuller speech now.
Well, hold on. It might be fuller, but there are a few omissions as well, because in the case of Next, you accused them of avoiding agency workers' regulations, which apply after a candidate's been employed for 12 weeks. You talked about Polish temps there. You left that out of your speech.
If somebody...
You've dropped the allegations.
Somebody is working as an agency worker, they only start to get a full set of rights after 12 weeks under the legislation that came in November 2011. So it is true that if an employer decides to recruit people, whether from elsewhere in the EU or from in the UK, only on short-term contracts, they do get, the employee may get a tougher end of the stick. And my concern is that where a local worker may have to meet mortgage costs and all the costs of living in the UK, somebody who comes and is only employed for a few weeks, fewer than the 12 weeks, and is put in substandard accommodation, is able to undercut local workers, and I think that that's a problem.
But you've dropped the specific allegation against Next. On Tesco, you said, take the case of Tesco, who recently decided to move their distribution centre in Kent. They say they don't have one in Kent. What happened there? You accuse the government of gimmicks and urban myths. I put it to you that perhaps you're guilty of some urban myths, perhaps peddled anecdotally by the Unite Trade Union.
All right, let's turn to one of the other big talking points of the week, donations. Your declaration showed that you received £14,000 from the Labour donor Lord Ali last year. What for exactly?
Yep, so I received that money from Wahid Ali, who's a long-standing Labour peer. It was used to fund 2 events, all of which was declared properly and thoroughly. That's why that information is in the public domain. The first event was ahead of my birthday, so I was turning 40. I thought it was a good opportunity to get people together in a professional context. So it was journalists, trade unionists, education people, MPs and shadow cabinet. The second event was an event that I held also again for lobby journalists, for people in the education world, as part of a reception. That's, you know, it was in a work context, you know.
That's a very nice thing, but if a Tory had done that 2 years ago, I know exactly what you'd be saying to me this morning. They should pay for their own birthday parties.
Look, this was in a work context. I didn't even invite my own...
You just said the same thing.
Yeah,
Come
look,
on.
I didn't even... My own family didn't come to that. It was in a work context. I celebrated my actual 40th birthday with my family. We went for a pizza. I celebrated with my kids. This was where I got together colleagues, journalists, actually, trade unionists, education people. It was in a very different kind of context. Wahid is a Labour peer. He's been a Labour peer for over 25 years. This is fully transparent. Honestly,
with respect, I think we might be digging a slightly bigger hole here. You've got a lot of people who knew you might be the Education Secretary, and you've got them in a room. You're paying for them to lobby you. I mean, the point about all of this is that to the average viewer, it feels dodgy. It feels like this is now an event for lobbyists.
Can we just briefly talk to you about yourself before we move on to what you're here to talk about this morning? This is the first opportunity we've had to talk to you. Since America's ambassador to Israel described you as being delusional last week. It was a very personal attack on you because you had said, in your view, that the UK government had been instrumental behind the scenes in bringing about the ceasefire in Gaza. He got up on his hind legs within hours and said you were delusional. What would you say in return? Now you're here, you have the opportunity.
So the position that I was setting out was that whilst the UK played a key role in supporting action behind the scenes to move towards that ceasefire, we do recognise that it was down to President Trump and the US government. That behaviour in the classroom is an increasing concern of teachers who say that it's making them consider whether they want to remain in the classroom, whether they want to remain as teachers.
To the point that they call the police.
Well,
to the point that they call the police.
Well, if there are serious incidents, and sadly there can sometimes be very serious incidents, including violence in the classroom, which is completely unacceptable.
No, I'm sorry,
well, you're asking me
you're
asking me if teachers should call the police. I'm just saying there can be occasion where that is required. What I'm not able to do is provide answers on specific newspaper reports for which I don't have full knowledge.
I'm sure it's true that with serious incidents there may be a case for calling the police, but that's to dodge the point. The point here is that the police were called. You say you don't want to comment on the particular case. Well, give it a go. Where a kid called another kid, said that they smelt like fish. Surely you would accept, on the face of it, that that's preposterous for the police to be involved.
As a point of principle, and I mean this sincerely, I think it's unwise for politicians to get involved in discussions around operational policing matters.
It is clear to me that letterboxes have reached a new low, and it's time we in this House raise them. Because when a letterbox is down by your ankles, any dog can bite, draw blood or sever a finger or two. Madam Deputy Speaker, it's not just dog attacks. Low-level letterboxes forced our posties to stoop repeatedly, day in, day out. Royal Mail recorded over 18,000 back-related injuries in just 1 year. Some of these posties are with us in the gallery today. Thank you for coming here and thank you for all you do for us. And their union, the CWU, has campaigned for this change since 1958. Why hasn't it happened yet? Because a recent survey of CWU reps found that 93% reported issues with low-level letterboxes in new buildings, and 99% said following the standard that this bill would bring in would make a real difference, with letterboxes being 70 centimetres from the ground. Madam Deputy Speaker, this isn't just about protecting workers, though that is obviously reason enough.
Million, I mean, how many are we talking about?
It's a significant number. It's not 500 or 5,000. It's significant.
You've said that three times. Do you not think it would be an idea to have a sense of how many children we're talking about? You are the Shadow Education Secretary.
A lot of young people that I know, one of whom is my middle son, decided to vote for Labour and for Jeremy Corbyn. He lectured me on missing the Corbyn surge, and when I pressed him, he said, He's going to take care of the students, Dad. He's going to get rid of all tuition fees, and he's going to pay off all the debts. Now it turns out that was a load of old baloney. You're not going to get rid of any of the debts, are you? Or you're going to try and deal with it in a mealy-mouthed way, which suggests you haven't really thought this through.
In terms of the pay rise, MPs do not have any control over that. That is completely independent of government. And that was brought in some years ago, and that is the rules on that. That is not nothing within our control on that.
You could give it back, though, couldn't you? At a time of cuts, people see the Chancellor, the Deputy Prime Minister getting paid more.
Administratively, trying to give it back is more of a nightmare.
Another area which is in your department as to where people, as you know, are desperate to see change is around leasehold reform. And of course, you had previously promised, I know you dropped this in April, but you had previously promised to end the feudal system of leasehold within 100 days of a Labour government. Now, you've announced previously that isn't going to happen. You're now saying that you're going to consult about it until next year, next summer. Why do you need to still consult about it? Why not just do it?
Well, first of all, it was the Employment Rights Bill within 100 days that was promised, and I will end the feudal system of the current leasehold system and move to common hold.
Deputy Prime Minister, you did pledge to abolish leasehold within 100 days. You dropped that pledge on the 11th of April. I appreciate you promised to do something else within 100 days, but you promised to do this within 100 days as well. Now you're saying that you're not going to do it within 100 days. In fact, you're going to consult till next year. Why do you just need to consult? Surely, when you promised that you would end it within 100 days, you knew what you were going to do, right?
Services and so can I bring you back to my question? What would Labour do?
Well, we've already talked about, some of the taxation decisions that the government have made around inheritance tax, capital gains tax, corporation tax, where you've given away money. Okay. This is what Jeremy was talking about in Prime Minister's question today. You've given away money that actually, quite frankly, we need to spend. And it's not just about an ageing population. That is phony. People know about the ageing population for some time. We've cut the criteria so people can't get community care. We treat our older people at the moment like dogs. It's a disgrace. We shouldn't do that.
But, excuse me,
putting the money in the primary care
Would you
services.
reverse the cuts on corporation tax?
I think that the cuts on corporation tax are missing a point because we need that money. We need that money at the moment.
Would you reverse it? Hold on.
Inheritance tax.
Would you reverse them?
I think that at the moment, cutting at a time where we need those services and people need those services is the wrong decision to make.
But I'm asking you, would you reverse the cut in corporation tax?
But I'm telling you, Andrew, that our priority is
you're not telling me the question.
I am.
I'm
saying that the cuts in corporation tax, the cuts in inheritance tax, the cuts in capital gains tax.
But what's the cut in capital gains tax?
But what's really important, Andrew...
No, excuse me, I'm asking you a question. What's the cut in the capital gains tax?
They've cut the capital gains tax. They did that. They did that as part of the coalition government.
No, they raised the capital gains tax in the coalition government.
Well, what I'm saying, Andrew, and
what you're saying is wrong. They raised the capital gains tax to 28%.
What I'm saying is that they've given tax cuts to absolutely the richest in the country at the same time where they've told the poorest people in this country over the past... It is true. At the same time that you've told the people in this country over the last 6 years, we've got to cut our coffee... No, let me finish this point because you've interrupted me and I want to make this point. It's really serious to people in this country that you've told people we've got to live within our means. We've got to have this austerity. We've got to cut. You've cut. And do you know what? Debt's rising and the amount of money that's going into the economy, you've not made it better. Our economy is worse as a result of 6 years of austerity. And now you're saying all of a sudden we can spend money.
No, hold on.
And that's wrong because you're spending it.
You're just off now.
No, I'm
let
not
me bring you back to let me bring you back to the question. Look, you think there may be an election coming up, so you need to get your policies right. What would the capital gains tax be under a Labour government and how much would that raise compared to now?
But I've told you, Andrew, what our priority is. It's about how we invest in our public services.
No, I'm asking you how you would raise the money. How much money would you recoup?
Excuse
me, it's important you ask the questions because you want people's votes. How much extra money would you raise by changing the current corporation tax and capital gains tax structures?
But Andrew, we've talked about in absolute detail about the current tax system, and we said actually that the money that the decisions that the government have made and the decisions on where they're spending current money is completely inappropriate.
So how much would you save?
You've cut 50%. In my constituency, both of my councils have seen over 50% cuts to their budget. No. So all of the people that need support are in acute services now, crippling our NHS.
So you would be able to give them more money by changing the corporation tax and changing the capital gains tax
Well, you don't
to raise
cut,
more money.
You don't cut taxes when you need that
How
money
much?
to help. You should be investing.
You don't know, do you?
You should be investing
You just
in those
don't know, do you?
services. No, Andrew, I'm talking about investment with the money we've currently got. At the moment, the government are not investing that money in our communities, in our areas where it's required. They're spending, they're cutting tax for those that the richest, and they're spending money in the wrong places.
I'll give you, because I'm lost.
About the quality of Labour's front bench, and this is one of the luminaries of Labour's front bench. This is the Deputy Prime Minister, the second most powerful person in all of this country. She's also the Housing Secretary, very, very important ministerial job too. So here she is first, explaining to a grateful nation the situation in Syria and what the Labour government is doing about it. Take it away, Angela.
Well, the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, is with us in the studio this morning. Welcome to you. What's the latest information that the government has? Can you confirm that Assad is gone?
Well, we don't know. The situation on the ground is fast-moving at the moment. If the Assad regime has fallen, then we welcome that news. What we want to see is a political solution along the lines of what the UN resolution is, and we're working with our allies.
Are you sure, though, if this rebel group does take charge, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, they have connections and roots with groups like al-Qaeda. Are you sure, as a government, they'd be a better option than the Assad regime?
Well, again, working with allies on the UN resolution, we've got to have a government in Syria, a political solution that protects civilians and infrastructure, because, as we've seen with the Assad regime, it has been unstable. We want to see that stability, and we'll work towards that with our allies.
Bloody, bloody, bloody dar. I mean, what the hell is that all about? What all she's doing there, she's being drilled by the media advisors, the press office. Right, just say something about the UN resolution, and we're sticking to that, and we're working with allies. Very difficult, fast-moving situation. In other words, she didn't have the first clue what she was talking about. Later on that morning, yesterday morning, she went on to Trevor Phillips's show on Sky News. And if you thought that she couldn't do much worse than what she did on the BBC, take a look at this.
Where the 2.5 million immigrants that are in Rachel Reeves' budget figures going to turn up? Where they're going to live?
Well, there's plenty of housing in the UK, but the houses, especially
hang on. You can't, on the one hand, say we've got to build this 1.5 million houses, and then say there's plenty of housing already.
There is plenty of housing, Trevor, already, but there's not enough for the people that desperately need it. So the homes, especially under our affordable homes programme, which is social and affordable housing, they will be there for people who desperately need them, local people. We've already outlined how we're going to support veterans and people who are fleeing domestic violence.
Okay.
Councils need homes for people that are on the waiting list. I've already announced changes to the right to buy, making sure they
this doesn't quite make sense.
So that we can deliver the houses they desperately need.
Deputy Prime Minister, doesn't quite make sense. You start the interview by telling me that there's a housing crisis. When I remind you that you have said yourselves as a government, we're going to need 2.5 million migrants. Some of them, by the way, people are going to build the houses. Suddenly, there's a lot of housing. Where are these people going to go?
Well, Trevor, first of all, when you say about building as well, the previous government did use migrant labour far too much instead of actually building skills here in the UK. I've announced £140 million for new construction hubs so that we can train people here to deliver those housing. So I don't accept that we're going to bring migrants in for that. We've always said that actually we need to skill our own people up. But equally, we need to build the homes that people need.
So, there are plenty of homes, she says, but we have a housing crisis. Plenty of houses, plenty of homes in this country, but we have a housing shortage.
We're going to break out of that to take you straight back to our political editor, Beth Rigby. There's already been a development to this. Beth, what can you tell us?
Well, Sky News understands that Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, is to leave government. As we understand it, Angela Rayner has resigned from government as Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Minister. That's all the information I have at the moment, but this comes after a torrid few days for the Deputy Prime Minister around property tax and whether she underpaid stamp duty. The Prime Minister has given her support and time to explain herself, but as I understand it, Angela Rayner has had to step down.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. So here I am.
Can you...
Yeah.
Hi, mate.
Hi, mate.
Can you tell us what you did with the £36,000 on your expenses form that you currently got a claim for? There was an expense that you have. It was on the expenses form last time on one of your claims. There was an item for £36,000. Okay, all right. Well, it's on the expenses, so I can bring that up and send it in an email to you if you want.
I don't have expenses in this job.
Well, no, this was when you were an MP. This isn't when you were mayor. There was one expense for £36,000.
I honestly don't. I have never bought anything, a single item for
£36,000.
No.
So you're saying on camera that you didn't have an expense for £36,000. There was one expense on your claim for £36,000 for an undisclosed item. What was that item?
I never spent £36,000
okay,
on one single item.
So the expenses form, which listed Anna Soubry as well as a host of others, yours was on there for £36,000. What have you done with the money?
I will answer it. It was regulated by
But what have you done with the money, Andy?
Authorities.
What have you done with £36,000?
If you've not brought any evidence, it's not
I've
fair
got the
to
evidence.
challenge
I'm
it.
not speaking to you, sir. I'm speaking to Mr. Burnham.
Look it up
now,
and I'll answer you now.
Secondly, we've talked about the expenses. Secondly, what are you going to do about the 15% of all asylum seekers are going to be coming into Greater Manchester? What are you going to do as mayor to stop that?